Hey everyone, welcome to the Book Barn.
And congratulations to the Next Chapter Book Club on our 1-year anniversary.
That's right. And today we are going to work our way through the pages of our September book club read. But first, let's look back at an amazing year of reading. I'm Laisha.
And I'm Lainey.
And let's talk books. Lainey, you sound like your allergies are kind of going crazy.
Oh my goodness, it's crazy.
Yeah, mine have too. I've been sneezing and sneezing, but anyway, Kansas.
Exactly. So let's talk about our book club, the private book club.
Okay.
So we started last October. Our very first book was The September House. And I just think that the year went by super fast.
It did. It definitely did. So do you have a favorite book from this past year?
I do. I think my very favorite was The Book of Lost Names by Kristen Harmel.
I think I'm going to agree with you on that one. I think our book club had that one as a really top choice.
Everyone agreed that it was a 5.
Yeah.
Did you have a book that really surprised you?
I'll say probably The September House did. It didn't sound like a book that I would have picked myself. And I got to the end and it was a fun ride.
I agree. And I never knew I liked thrillers. But not only did I like The September House, but I'm also really liking the one we're talking about today, Daisy Darker.
Yes, me too.
So who knew? Lainey likes thrillers.
Yeah. Well, I think I found that about myself too. Probably for fiction, I had read mostly romance, and I still like that okay, but I feel like that's not my top genre now.
I think I feel the same way.
Yeah, I think something with a little bit of, more
twist and turn.
Yeah, be more twist and turns, yes.
Nice. So which book generated the most discussion at our book club meeting?
Well, that one was probably The Perfect Marriage.
Absolutely, 100% agree. Everyone was talking over each other. Everyone had something they wanted to say about that book. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, and it had a lot of twists. That seems to be the type of book that really gets everybody going.
Yes.
So, Lainey, what book out of the ones we've read are you most likely to reread?
We just finished doing The Happiest Man on Earth. That's one that maybe I might go back to. I may someday go back to The Book of Lost Names just because I loved it so much.
Yeah, agree with all of that. I have already, though, reread The Lost Bookshop.
Oh, I loved that book.
Yeah, I did too. And the reason I reread it was I had read it on my own to begin with, and then you had asked me to pick a book for our book club to read, and that's the one that I had selected. And so I reread it right before we had our discussion so I could refresh my memory. So,
sure.
But it was fun reading it again. But I'm the same as you right now. I feel like The Happiest Man on Earth is a book that even if I don't read the whole thing again, I do think that I will read parts of that. It puts things into perspective for your own life. So when you have some perceived troubles, I feel like that's a book that you can grab and put yourself back in your place, I guess.
Absolutely. We have it very good.
We do.
Okay. So also, are there any authors that we've read their works and you're like, I want to read more from that author?
So yeah, I think Kristen Harmel. I already have pre-purchased. I think it's out now. The next book by Evie Woods.
I would read her.
So she has another book out already, and I do plan to read it. Have we done a Frida McFadden as a book club book?
No, I have read her, but just not with the club.
Yeah, I've read a couple of books from her, and I would probably read her again. So maybe we need to get her for a book club.
I think we should. Yeah, that would be good. What about Carissa Orlando? She doesn't have any other books yet. But she's The September House.
Yes, I think I'd read something else by her.
I would too.
Yeah.
And Francine Rivers. We did
absolutely.
The Lineage of Grace. Yes.
So pretty much all of them.
I don't know I enjoyed the romantic comedy when we read it. I don't know if I enjoyed it so much that I would go looking for that author.
Yeah.
So maybe not. Mary Kay Andrews, I would reread her. We did The Santa Suit. Mm-hmm. But her books to me are more palate cleansers. I don't feel like they're real deep. Maybe a good read though if you're just wanting
uplifting,
easy, don't have to think much. So I kind of agree with you though. Most of them I would read other works from them.
So looking back, have you learned or gained from being a part of our book club?
Oh, absolutely. I've never read this many books ever.
Yeah, same.
And I have learned a lot. Not only have I gained knowledge, but just being with my friends.
Yes, absolutely.
So nice.
Yeah.
And how can our private and public book club grow and change, do you think?
Well, I believe that our private book club, as far as growth in numbers, I think we won't do that.
Agree.
We have decided that we are as full as we can be with everyone being able to talk the amount that seems, like everyone gets to participate. But I think that we can still grow in our knowledge by choosing a variety of books, different genres. I think our last couple of nonfiction books were excellent. A lot of people felt that they really gained a lot from those.
I agree. And self-help is on its way.
Yes, we haven't done one yet, but we will.
In the future soon.
Yep. What about you? What do you think?
So I agree. I think the private group that we have is kind of at capacity. But as far as our public page, everyone is welcome, and that can just grow as much as it wants to. I just hope that more people participate in the conversations online after we've read the book. So that's how I think we could grow that way, maybe.
Yeah, that would be wonderful. So to our listeners right now, we would love to have you join that Facebook group. It's the Book Barn Book Club. After we have finished a book, it's usually the first Wednesday of the month that we start those discussions.
And then the Tuesday following, we post a podcast like this one.
Right.
And we would love everyone to share those.
Yeah. And also we might say if anyone has something that they would like to hear discussed on the podcast, either a book recommendation or if you have any questions for us, please feel free to email us. And our email is in the show notes below.
We like reading messages.
We do.
Okay. It's time.
Daisy Darker.
Eek! Can't wait. We'll explore everything from plot twists to character motivations in Alice Feeney's gripping domestic thriller.
Daisy Darker.
Dun, dun, dun. Daisy Darker returns to her family's eerie coastal home for her grandmother's 80th birthday.
The tides rise.
Each time the clock chimes, someone dies.
Confusion and fears mount as the secrets of this dysfunctional family are unveiled.
Wow. This was our book club September book, and I think it was a great choice for our October discussion.
Oh, yes, I agree. This book has been described as atmospheric, with an isolated house in disrepair and the odd family dynamics. What about you, Lainey? What were your first impressions of this book?
Oh my gosh. It kind of had me hooked from the very beginning, honestly. And at first I didn't know if I loved it. But then at the end, I was like, yep, I do.
You do. All right. Well, I was intrigued by Sea Glass, as the house was called. The seclusion, the high tide definitely added to the suspense. Feeney's descriptions made it feel almost like the house itself was a character in the story. Did you notice the floor plan in the beginning of the book? I thought that was pretty neat.
It was awesome. And I also noticed that there was a little note at the very beginning. The author's agent.
Yes.
Oh, that was good. And that didn't mean much to me.
No, it was actually kind of confusing.
Until the end.
Good.
Yeah. So good. So did you choose a word for this book?
Well, I think my word is just going to be secrets. which that was even in the title of her grandmother's book, Daisy Darker's Little Secrets.
Yes.
Yeah, seemed like there were a lot of secrets.
I agree, and my word is dysfunctional. The family had a very unhealthy relationship, I thought, with each other.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely.
So let's talk about the characters. Daisy Darker is quite a complex protagonist.
Ooh, yes.
So it said at the very beginning that she was born with a broken heart. We learn that she has a heart condition. And it says in the book that she dies several times.
Yeah, she describes when I first died or when I died again.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And she'd had surgery. And so she had a big scar on her chest.
She felt isolated sometimes and ignored by her family. And she continued to talk about a secret she has.
Well, I felt like we were going to see a shift in her perspective, like it would be an evolution from someone seeking to escape her past to someone confronting it. And her relationship with her parents and her sisters really is central to the story.
Yes, absolutely. The family dynamics are intense. Did you have any favorite characters?
Were we supposed to?
Well, probably not. I did love Nana, but as we know, Lainey likes older characters. I liked her very much so until the end.
Yeah, I probably agree with that. And of course, Daisy, but she had some issues of her own. There was something off about her.
There was something off about her. I agree with that.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah. And then Nana, of course, that was my favorite character. Beatrix Darker. She was strong, a little quirky, I thought. Sometimes a mysterious character. She was an artist and an author, which, we love books, so
yeah,
I liked her. She had her family punch a card, like a time card.
Like a time clock. Yeah.
Yeah. Every time they arrived and every time they left. I mean, that was a little strange. Her home was full of clocks, and they would drive. They would drive
me crazy.
Yes, too. Yes. And she had a special chair for everyone in her family that she loved.
Yeah.
To sit in. They were like personalized. Did you think that was kind of cool, actually?
I actually did kind of think that was cool. Other people might think it's really odd, but I did think that it was pretty neat. I do consider myself artistic, and so I thought, oh, that's kind of a fun. I don't know that I would have them sit in their chair, every time around the table, but I thought, oh, that's pretty cute.
Pretty creative. Mm-hmm. What about Frank?
He was just an absent father. He loved his orchestra, his music, more than he loved his family. That was very evident, too. Yeah, he had affairs.
He did, yeah, with young harpist.
Yeah. So, as far as a husband, no, I did not like him. Probably, no, not. I mean, he wasn't a good father, so probably not a good person. Yeah, he adds to the story, that's for sure.
He does. He was always on time, it said. But then I got to thinking he did grow up in a house full of clocks. His love of music kind of reminded me of my dad.
Yeah.
I think that there are people out there that when they have a gift like that and they get, I don't even know what I'm trying to say, but I understood that he loved that so much that he always wanted to be around it. Yeah. It does absolutely take away from him being a dad.
Yeah.
So kind of sad.
And Nancy, the mother.
Yeah.
Daisy's mom.
I didn't really care for Nancy.
No, Nancy wasn't so nice. I think Nancy seemed resentful of Daisy, or at least Daisy felt like Nancy was resentful of her. This book is all of Daisy's perspective.
It is.
So Daisy, yes, thought her mother didn't love her.
But later found a picture of herself in the locket that the mother wears. So obviously she did care. And Nancy did have a favorite of the girls. We'll find out about that. I have down that she believed that a cup of tea could solve anything. So when Frank cheats, another cup of tea. She wanted to be famous as an actress, but instead she ended up having babies.
Yeah, and that's where I think the resentment comes in to the family.
Yep. What about Rose?
We have Rose. That's Daisy's eldest sister. She was a veterinarian, and she preferred animals to people.
Yes. We find out kind of midway in the book that Rose tried to kill baby Daisy when she was very, very tiny with a mouse.
Oh, that's right. By dropping it in the crib with her.
Yeah. Okay, Leisha. On page 198, I have to read this aloud. It was a song that Rose sang that made me think very differently of Rose. Hush, little baby, don't be afraid. The beds we lie in are the ones we made. And if that means you can't sleep at night, remember that wrongs are sometimes right. And if you fear you're all alone, you'll always have me and a place to call home. Hush, little baby, don't you cry. Sometimes we live, sometimes we die.
Ooh.
So that makes you think a little differently of Rose.
It does, yeah. She seemed like the most kind of normal throughout the story.
As she was older, I agree.
But then you got to see glimpses into the past, and we learned things about her that didn't look so favorable.
And Lily is the middle child.
Yes, she's very self-centered.
Oh, my goodness.
Never held a job. She was married for a while, right?
I don't think so.
Oh, you don't think she was even married?
Nope.
Oh, no, because she didn't even know who Trixie's father was.
Right.
And Trixie is Daisy's niece. That's Lily's daughter. And yeah, they didn't even know, or at least she never shared
who the father was. Yeah. And she once locked Daisy in a cupboard. And of course, there were mice in that cupboard too. It was almost like they were all trying to give this little girl a heart attack. After Daisy almost drowned, Lily said, I wish you had drowned.
Oh, she whispered that in her ear.
She was so mean.
Yeah, she was very mean. So what about Trixie? How did you feel?
Daisy's niece, I did like her. She was Lily's daughter, of course, and she just was described as being immature for her age. She was 15. I looked that up. Daisy seemed to have a good relationship with her. It said she was a bookish teenager. She was well-read and very polite and exceptionally kind.
Well, everyone kept saying that she was immature, but I really didn't feel like she was. But that
I didn't feel it either.
You know, that was just what the adults kept telling her. I mean, I know she dressed in like all pink and kind of cutesy, but that doesn't mean she was immature. She just had a little quirkiness.
So how about Connor?
Well, you know, I kind of wanted to like Connor.
Only one that's not actual family.
Right. Yeah. He's a childhood friend. Again, we're seeing Daisy's viewpoint. And you knew that she was in love with Connor. She wanted Connor to be hers. And he ended up in a relationship with Rose, the oldest sister, for a while in their teenage years. Poor Connor had an abusive father.
I think the Darker family did a good job taking him in and caring for him. He even had his own chair.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, Nana brought him in to the family. And she even tried to help his dad. She would pay for his rehab. I think she did that several times.
And didn't Nana even redecorate his house? Am I remembering correctly? Like one time
I think so.
He went off to rehab and they went in and cleaned it up anyway.
Yes.
Just trying to give him a
good life.
A decent life so he could take care of his kid.
Right. And then later, Nancy goes to confront him about, he had beaten Connor. And so she went in to confront him about it. Or she thought because Connor had bruises and black eye and whatever. And so she goes to confront his dad. And he comes out and he's clean. Like you can tell he's sober at the moment. And there's kind of a little spark there.
There is definitely a little spark there.
So they end up in a relationship together.
And that's after she has divorced Frank.
Yes. And Frank's just traveling the world at this point. And then we have Nana's agent. I can't remember his name.
We don't know a whole lot about him other than Nana trusts him. He does tell Daisy that someday he would like to read her story.
Yes. And then we have kind of our last character, I guess, is Poppins, the dog. She's an elderly English sheepdog, and she is Nana's best friend. And she also seems to really love Daisy, too.
Yes, yes.
She greets her at the door when she comes to Sea Glass. Poppins is significant in the story, and she even finds herself in some situations, too.
Yes.
Just as the rest of the family. But so Poppins is kind of a character, I would say.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. It felt like every character had something to hide. I guess that's why I said secrets for my word.
Yes.
But now let's talk about the plot. I think partway through the book, you said, get ready for predictable.
Yeah.
Do you remember that?
I do remember that.
Okay. I need you to elaborate on that, please. What was predictable?
Yes.
Okay. Wait, stop. First.
Yes.
We probably better put in our spoiler warning here.
Okay. If you haven't read Daisy Darker yet and you want to do so without spoilers, stop now.
Okay. So now, Lainey, elaborate about what you felt was predictable. Or do you still feel that way now?
I do until the end. So what I thought was predictable was, first of all, the clocks at each hour, somebody died.
Yeah.
And that was predictable. So I kind of knew that.
You felt like you knew that before even the first?
Maybe it took 2.
Yeah.
But then after that,
Yeah.
I knew that was happening. I also felt like every time someone disappeared by themselves, like took off you just knew.
Yeah,
like,
you knew something was going to happen.
You dummy.
Yeah.
Why are you leaving the family? You know you're going to die.
Yeah.
So that part I thought was very predictable. Also, the author was predictable, as in every time someone died, she would have like a little poem about them.
Yeah.
And so I was ready for that each time.
But I think that was all very intentional, don't you?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes. But that's what I meant by predictable.
Gotcha.
But then at the end, no longer predictable.
Yeah, that kind of changed for you.
It really slapped me in the face, to be honest. I was like, what?
Yeah. So what about the pacing? What do you think about that?
I liked it. It kept me interested. It did. I thought it was, I don't want to say slow and steady.
Yeah. I mean, I think the pacing was well handled. There were maybe a few spots that I thought dragged a bit because you knew a murder was coming and you were just like, get this over with so we can keep going. Yeah. Come on. Yeah. But, I would say that each murder definitely kept me engaged, especially the way that they happened on the hour. And then the poem, like you mentioned on the chalkboard, each person being crossed out.
Yes.
I really, at one point, I did think maybe Daisy was the killer, but then she was scared too. And so that kept me guessing. So the ending, you didn't see that coming then.
No, not at all. It was mind blowing to me. I didn't see it coming. Wow. Did you feel it lived up to the buildup?
To the buildup? Yeah, I mean, it was intense and dramatic. I will definitely say that. Did it end the way that I wanted? Probably not. All along, I kind of suspected that it might be a Halloween prank by Nana. And maybe I thought it might even be some strange way for the family to make amends with Daisy. Like it was kind of a game that they were including her in.
Okay, I never thought that, but that is...
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So I thought maybe it was going to have more of a happy ending for Daisy, but it was just a really weird, twisted way to get there. Yeah. So I was wrong.
Okay. All right. Let's touch on the author's writing style. What did you think of the narrative voice and the use of language?
Well, in the beginning, I will say that I loved her use of words. I read this on my Kindle and I really had just so many highlights, at least in the beginning. But I will say that after a bit, I kind of started to feel that her descriptions became, I don't know, maybe, I don't know how to describe it, maybe flowery, I guess.
Okay, yeah.
And I actually started thinking that it was a little bit of a distraction. But having said that, I thought that there were some beautiful passages. So we haven't shared our favorite paragraphs yet.
We need to do that,
yeah,
yes.
Do you have one?
I do.
Okay,
so here is it's not necessarily the paragraph, it's the poem.
Oh, the poem on the chalkboard?
Yes,
all right.
I decided to read.
Okay.
Daisy Darker's family were as dark can be. When one of them died, all of them lied and pretended not to see. Daisy Darker's Nana was the oldest but least wise. The woman's will made them all feel ill, which was why she had to die. Daisy Darker's father lived life dancing to his own tune. His self-centered ways and the piano he played danced him to his doom. Daisy Darker's mother was an actress with the coldest heart. She didn't love all her children and deserved to lose her part. Daisy Darker's sister Rose was the eldest of the three. She was clever and quiet and beautiful, but destined to die lonely. Daisy Darker's sister Lily was the vainest of the lot. She was a selfish, spoiled, entitled witch, one who deserved to get shot. Daisy Darker's niece was a precocious little child. Like all abandoned ducklings, she would not fare well in the wild. Daisy Darker's secret story was one someone sadly had to tell, but her broken heart was just the start of what will be her last farewell. Daisy Darker's family wasted far too many years lying. They spent their final hours together learning lessons before dying. What'd you think of that?
Well, pretty creepy.
What about you? Do you have a paragraph?
I do. Mine was in the beginning. I don't know that it's my favorite one, but it is one that I really liked. And I thought her use of language here this is one that I highlighted for that reason. It's page 6. Families are like fingerprints. No two are the same, and they tend to leave their mark. The tapestry of my family has always had a few too many loose threads. It was a little frayed around the edges long before I arrived. And if you look closely enough, you might even spot a few holes. Some people aren't capable of seeing the beauty of imperfections, but I always loved my Nana, my parents, and my sisters, regardless of how they felt about me, and despite what happened.
Oof.
Yeah, I just thought that kind of
Good
set the
stuff.
tone.
It did. And mine, going back to it, was on page 62. If anyone needed to know, it was what was written on the kitchen wall.
Creepy.
Very creepy. So, Laisha, this book did remind me a little bit of The September House, with the rhyme and little ghosts and that sort of thing. I thought The September House was a little more humorous, but really it's a movie that this book reminds me of. Have you seen The Sixth Sense with Bruce Willis?
Ooh, I have. Yep.
This reminded me of that.
I can see that. Yeah. He saw dead people.
Yes. Very similar.
Yeah. So the murders in this house occurred starting with Nana.
Yes.
She was the first. And then Frank died.
And then Nancy.
And then Lily died. And then Connor.
Then Rose.
But before all of them, Daisy died.
And we need to talk about, how did Daisy die?
Yeah. Because she actually is a ghost.
She is. So when she was a child, she saw Connor and Lily doing things they shouldn't have been doing. And when she tried to tell Rose about it, Rose said she was a liar and basically accused her of some other things that she had lied about, which she really had lied about.
Yeah.
Cutting up Rose's dress.
Cutting off the braids
of Lily's hair. And so Daisy took off running, if you remember. Connor and Lily and Rose get in Connor's dad's car, and they are driving, and they hit Daisy with the car, and they think she's dead. And do you remember what they did with her?
Yeah, they threw her over a cliff.
They did, and I have that right here in the book. It says, the waves crashing on the rocks below sounded like thunder in my ears. Connor started to count, and they swung me back and forth as though I were the old skipping rope we used to play with on the beach. 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3 Mississippi. When they swung me the third time, I could hear my heartbeat in my ears. It was louder than Connor's counting, louder than my sister's crying, and louder than the cold, dark sea crashing on those rocks below me. Looking back, I wondered if the fear I felt produced so much adrenaline that it restarted my heart. Just as they let me go, I opened my eyes. So she wasn't dead until she crashed. Wow.
Yeah.
Crazy story. I loved it.
Lots of twists.
Lots of twists.
It really was a page turner for me.
I agree.
Let's see. It was a Goodreads Choice Awards nominee for Best Mystery and Thriller in 2022, and it currently scores a 3.77 on Goodreads. So what do you think?
I'd give it a solid 4.
Yeah, that sounds pretty good to me. Well, I think maybe we ought to wrap this up.
I agree, Laisha. We hope you enjoyed our discussion on Alice Feeney's thrilling novel, Daisy Darker.
And listeners, we would love to hear your thoughts. If you've read this book, you can send us an email and give us your opinions, or feel free to send us some questions that you may have, or maybe some book recommendations. Our email address is in the show notes. Don't forget to subscribe to the podcast for more book discussions, reviews, and insights.
And thanks for joining us today. Until next time,
I'm Laisha.
And I'm Lainey.
And keep your bookmarks busy.